What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I was thinking we could take it to the Geth this time. Go kick them in the teeth for once. Everywhere we go, we seem to be stumbling over these things, being a nuisance, getting in the way of us tracking down Saren. I say we go on the offensive. Admiral Hackett seems to think that they're getting ready to make some kind of major move. I think it was the Armstrong. This looks right. Anyway, setting up all kinds of bases and communications and stuff. All kinds of reports of Geth activity through here. And this is kind of the edge of explored space, so maybe the Geth think that we're not noticing them all bunched up over here, raising up all these military bases and doing whatever it is they're doing. Yeah, they need to know that no one's seen or heard from the Geth in a couple centuries. Now all of a sudden you can't turn a light on in the house without one jumping out of a dark corner trying to shoot you in the face. They seem to be everywhere. That's a little conspicuous. But if they're all going to be bunched up over here, I don't really care what they have planned. We're going to go give them a bloody nose. Go disrupt their plans. We've been a step behind Saren every step of the way, right? Always one step behind. And everywhere he goes, when we pick up the trail, there's this litter of Geth left behind to harass us. And this time we can get a jump on them. And whatever they're doing here, it's got to be some coordinated effort with Saren. That when he makes his move, they'll make their move too. And they've got a place to operate from here. Like I say, this is the edge of explored space, so they probably think they're on the fringe and nobody's noticing them over here, or else that we can't come in and do anything about it. Well, I've got something else to say about that. This may also be an opportunity to find something for Tali to take back to her people on her pilgrimage also. That is kind of a personal quest of hers. Loyalty mission, so to speak. Loyalty missions will be a bigger thing in Mass Effect 2 and 3. But here, it's an opportunity, I guess, to establish some kind of trust or bond. We did it with Rex when we found his armor. And we did it with Garrus when we went and took care of that evil Solarian geneticist scientist dude. So this time, finding Tali something she can take back to her people for her pilgrimage is kind of her, I guess you could say, loyalty mission. Now here, this I think was put here for a reason. So I'm going to go ahead and include this because it was significant to me. All right, we see, what was it say, scavenger corpse, right? But if you read, it says the burnt corpses, a mom and pop independent salvage team, shows signs of close range, whatever. Anyway, you find out it was the Geth, all right, that killed the small little salvage team. This isn't a military group. This is no threat to whatever the Geth are doing with Saren, right? Of course, neither were the colonists on Eden Prime either, right? But they were going to literally wipe that out. We had to defuse the explosives that were going to literally wipe that colony off the map completely, right? And the scavengers had to abandon this place. Anyway, but there's evidence of Geth particle beam fire and stuff. So we know that the Geth killed these people. These are innocent people, right? So the Geth are instantly hostile. The thing about them is we heard Tali's side of it, right? We heard the Quarian side of it. Now, it's kind of hard to get the Geth side of anything because they don't want to talk. They just shoot on sight. Uh-oh, you see these spikes? That means alien, quote-unquote, alien technology. We're probably going to find some husks here. So anyone else that was here besides this salvage team, well, we can just kind of guess what's happened to them. I did find a scram rail. Check this out. Oh, by the way, in a previous video, I'd mentioned scram rails as reducing the heat. Scram rails are great for damage, but they add heat buildup in your weapon. I was thinking of frictionless materials. So any of y'all that were familiar with frictionless materials and you heard me screaming scram rails earlier, you were probably screaming to yourselves, no, that's frictionless materials, you idiot, which it is. I like, personally, with an assault rifle, I like 2 frictionless materials because it basically makes your assault rifle to where it can almost never overheat, and you can just go straight God mode with your assault rifle and just hold the trigger down. With a pistol, I like a scram rail and a frictionless material, which adds a small damage bonus. The scram rail adds a great damage bonus, and the frictionless materials will give you a little extra cooldown for your weapon above and beyond the penalty that you pay with the scram rail, if that makes sense. Like, I think the scram rail gives you a minus 10 build up on heat, but the frictionless materials gives you a plus 20 bonus against heat buildup. So your weapon still doesn't heat up quite as fast, but you get a great damage bonus on top of that. Anyway, that's just how I like to roll. There's different combinations you can use. It's just, you know, to each his own. some people like 2 frictionless materials and the sledgehammer rounds. The frictionless materials give you a plus 40 in heat buildup reduction, and then the sledgehammer rounds give you a minus 20 penalty, kind of like a scram rail, but they add a lot of weapons force, and they're kind of like polonium rounds too, as they poison their target also, which works on basically everything but Rachni and the Thorian creepers. I think those are the only enemies that... But about the time that you start finding sledgehammer rounds on a fresh playthrough, though, you're pretty much done with the Thorian creepers for the most part. And hopefully done with the Rachni on Novaria, which is where you mainly see them. You can run into them elsewhere also, but that's pretty much mostly. But just about everything else is affected by the polonium rounds. Even Geth. Even machines, for whatever reason. But anyway, just thought I'd clarify that. It's been a while since I played this. But I'm kind of getting back into the groove, remembering the stuff that I used to use and what worked the best for me. So I'll try to kind of point that out as we go along. Anyway, what I was going to say, we heard the Quarian side of what happened with the Geth. And basically, they're completely innocent of any wrongdoing, and they were totally within the law. Even when they knew they were breaking ethics, they were still within the legal boundaries, right? The written law. And so they can't see where they went wrong, and the Geth went berserk for no reason and tried to exterminate the Quarians and chased them off their homeland. Woe is them, and now they're floating around in a bunch of ragtag ships called the Flotilla, and they're the victims here, and the Geth are to blame for all of this, even though the Geth are essentially just machines. Well, the argument that comes up here, and this is kind of similar to the argument you might see in Fallout 4 also, are the Geth alive? Now, from a Fallout 4 perspective, the way I gather it, my understanding of Fallout 4 is essentially, in the Fallout universe, which different science and different physics apply, okay, is that scientists did somehow find a way to cross the line and actually transfer or translate a human soul, character, spirit, and all that, onto a computer chip or a storage device or whatever, right, into a synth, what they call a synth, and create a living being. But rather than being flesh and blood, they're essentially machine. Other than that, they're completely alive, just like anyone else. Because they somehow manage to transfer more than just memories. They take the memories, but along with it, they somehow grab the soul also. And so that person is literally translated over onto a machine interface. It's an interesting concept. But anyway, I see them rolling more with real physics and science here in Mass Effect. And so, oh wow, we got Geth too? Alright. So they were going to use the husks for themselves as weapons, programmed, as part of their invasion. Every human they capture, they basically add to their forces. That's actually kind of how the Reapers operate. They use the citizens of a planet against themselves. And the more you defeat, the more you add to your own numbers. It's kind of a self-sustaining war machine. Anyway, so what I see with the Geth is, I think they're leaning more towards the Quarians put a bunch of pieces together, essentially tried to play God, and when they made the Geth essentially evolved on their own. Basically, they gave them the capacity to learn somehow in their programming, and then the Geth just went on from there, and they also gave them the ability to, or at least they developed the ability to essentially recreate themselves. So the Geth can sort of reproduce. They can make more of themselves. They can also create, in the sense of, whether they can make something from nothing or not, they can take things that already exist and improve upon them. You know, like Geth technology, you know, their weapons and their ships and stuff like that, a lot of that is of their own devising. Now, whether they took things from living beings like the Solarians and the Turians and whatever they found and then reverse engineered it, right, and then adapted it to their own uses and then developed it and improved it, that may be one thing, or else they literally have the ability to engineer stuff on their own. Whatever the case may be, I don't know, right? But to me, one thing about Mass Effect here is whether the Geth, whether you would consider them alive or not. Now, the whole AI thing and whether AI is actually alive or not, and can actually have feelings and be a living entity, a sentient being. That actually does come up to a greater extent later in Mass Effect. But as far as the Geth are concerned right here, my answer to that entire argument is I don't care. It doesn't matter because the Geth are hostile. What the Geth are about is murder. All right, because they will kill innocents regardless to accomplish their thing, whether in their programming or in their logic sensors or whatever you want to call them. However they process information, how it always comes out is to kill everything that's not a machine. Now, it could be because their programming is corrupted by the Reapers. That's fine. Or it could be because they are actually alive and they're just assholes. Right? It's one or the other. Either their programming is corrupted by some kind of Reaper virus or something, or they are actually alive and they're able to think for themselves and they're just assholes because they kill everybody. There is no diplomacy, there is no talking with the Geth, at least not right now there isn't, right? And so we don't get to hear their side of anything, but who really wants to, because literally they shoot you on sight. Doesn't matter who you are. The fact is, you're not Geth or you're not a machine, therefore you die. I don't really care whose orders they're operating on. They're just being dicks and they need to be dealt with, right? Because understanding why they're doing what they're doing isn't going to stop that bullet from punching through your face and punching your brains out of the back of your head. Okay? Understanding why the Geth are doing what they're doing isn't going to keep you from dying when they do that to you, because they are going to shoot you on sight. So the bottom line is, reasons and whether they're alive or not, all those ethics debate, you know, it's irrelevant. That's for the people who sit around and sip expensive water and tell each other how intelligent they are while they discuss these things in hindsight. That's for them to talk about. But for us right here, dealing with the problem at hand, trying to keep everyone alive, okay, all we can really do is kill them before they kill us. Because like I say, they're really not about diplomacy. They're not going to be talked to, and I'm obviously not going to be driving. I'm not going to be around to talk very long myself if I don't get control of my Mako here. It's an ambush, man. This was definitely planned. Yeah, they had all kinds of stuff going on here. Like, this is, we see this is on the outskirts. I guess whatever people were here, like I say, it was just a salvage team. Maybe they were doing some kind of research out here on the resources and materials available on this planet that no one's really come to really farm yet. Like I say, galactic space, you know, this is like the edges here. This is like the frontier, right? We're still kind of extending these borders right here. So a lot of this stuff hasn't been explored. So you get these little mom and pop groups out here to get in while the getting's good, and, you know, maybe scrape a little off the top before the big guys come in and farm everything out and basically rape the land for all it's worth, right? So the Geth decided this would be a perfect opportunity to set up a forward base, and I guess as they move in and they run into more and more population, then they take this Reaper technology and they transform all the people that they conquer into husks and add to their numbers. So the husks serving the same things that the Reapers or that the Geth are serving, which is essentially the will of these Reaper things, which we really haven't seen much of that. It's almost just rumor right now. Reaper is a thing discussed mostly in visions so far, from what we've gathered from the Prothean beacon and stuff like that, and what little history, like Liara said, they essentially erase any evidence of them being around. They come through and they basically wipe out most organic, not all, but most organic life, and then move on. I would like to point out here, one thing is that there seems to be some evidence that they are primarily interested in humans. All right? And not just because of Eden Prime. Eden Prime, you can say, well, they were just there because the beacon was there. And it just happened to be humans that uncovered the beacon. So that's why they took that colony. But, all right, remember, they turned a lot of the colonists there into husks, remember? Husks are, along with the little Geth drones and the few Geth that were left behind on Eden Prime, because they were going to set off nuke charges to basically wipe the entire surface of the planet there. but it was a human colony planet, and I remember that, okay? But they had the technology there to transform humans into husks and stuff, but how many Turian husks have you seen? Or Solarian husks or something like that? And that's not just something that they just forgot to write into the game, okay? There's a reason all you see is human husks here. And there's a reason they seem to be targeting humanity. Not just Eden Prime, but look at Pharos. Pharos was a human. Okay, well, they were just there for the Thorian. Okay, but they targeted a human colony specifically. All right, just saying. And then here, on these outskirts of space, well, humans are the only ones out here exploring. I find that hard to believe, right? But they definitely brought along the technology to create husks out of people, right? Whatever the Turian or Solarian or even Hanar, I don't even know if you can make a Reaper Hanar. It would almost be kind of funny. Reaper jellyfish. I think the Reapers maybe only use those things that can be of some use to them in fighting the populations of the planets they're trying to conquer. I don't know that the Hanar, I don't know the Reaper jellyfish would be useful to them. Maybe so. Maybe so. Maybe it would. Anyway, so the targeting of humanity in particular is interesting. Just pointing that out. That may have some significance later, so I'm just kind of throwing it out there. And if it comes out to be important at some point, then you can say, oh, you know what? They actually really were after people for a reason. Okay, well, he seems to be either, I guess we're just out of his range or he's glitched. I'm not trying to cheese this. Bottom line is he probably can't hit me up here anyway. I remember this one as being pretty brutal. If you stay on the low ground, it's nothing but snipers and rocket troopers and stuff just pounding you. And they on Insanity, they will take your Mako down pretty quick. Oh, they got a Prime. Yeah, those dudes are bad. I think they've got rockets and a huge plasma shotgun and who knows what else they can do. Oh, I think they can bring up a drone. I think they can summon drones also. I believe that's the case in Mass Effect 2 and 3 also. Yeah, the Primes are nasty. They're cool too, honestly. They are pretty cool. See what kind of goodies we got. There's a frictionless material. Nice. Sledgehammer rounds. Nice. Yeah, we're starting to find all the good stuff. Alright, so let me get a... Yeah, sledgehammer rounds are pretty cool. 40 weapons force. They're a combination of two rounds. The polonium rounds and... whatever the other one was that increased your weapon impact. Great for a sniper. Great for a shotgun. Really good for a shotgun. Shotguns already have a knockdown ability. And so you stack that on top of it. I could roll with this for a little bit. I'm really a big fan of the cryo rounds or the polonium rounds. Yeah, sledgehammer rounds, the only downside is they add to your weapon heat a little bit. This is one mod system that I wouldn't have minded if they would have kept in Mass Effect 2 and 3. I mean, I know they try to change some stuff, and aside from keeping the heart and soul of the game, they did, change around the skill trees a little bit, and the weapon mods a little bit, and the equipment and stuff. They kept it the same, but they changed some stuff also, just to make it fresh. I get that. It's cool. But I really like the Mass Effect 1 leveling and weapon mod and armor mod system. I thought it was pretty cool because you could come up with different combinations that kind of fit whatever you wanted to do, which is, I'm sure, why it was designed that way. Yeah, the polonium rounds are great because that poison damage is really effective above and beyond your weapon damage. And it's effective against just about everything, like I say, but the Arachni and the Thorian creepers, right? The cryo rounds are great because they can snap freeze smaller enemies pretty often. Cryo 7s are great. When you get into snowblind rounds, which is I think 8 through 10, snowblind rounds actually reduce your they give you a damage bonus, but they reduce your rate of fire with your weapon by like something ridiculous, like 40% or something. I don't know. Anyway, your weapon fire rate is the number of bullets you send out, which is your damage, right? And so if you if you increase your damage by 20%, then reduce it by 40%, what have you done? Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. I am also in RPGs. I guess everybody has their thing that they kind of lean towards. Usually falls into just a few categories. You have light and speedy. You have slow and heavy. You know, and then you have those just kind of in the middle. And what I mean by that is, like, you have those who like a slow but heavy damage weapon. I don't hit as much, but when I do hit, I make it count. And then you have others who, I may not hit you real hard, but damn, I'm going to hit you often, you know? I've always kind of leaned towards that a little bit. Although, lately, in some games, I've been venturing off into the slow and heavy also. And I see the draw for that. That's a lot of fun. Like, oh, what's a real simple example? Oh, like in Dark Souls. You can run around with the dagger and hit often and get really good critical backstabs, right? Which that hits pretty hard, actually, right? Or you can run around with a big two-handed weapon like, you know, the Great Sword or the Moonlight Great Sword or something like that, and just hit really hard when you do hit. You won't hit as much, but you'll hit really hard when you do. And wow, they got this guarded. And holy crap. Yeah, they're serious business here. Whatever that thing is, it must be like their main communications hub for this whole deal here or something. These guys aren't going down anytime soon, and I'm getting tore up. Yeah, I was about to say, I've lost my shields too. Alright, time to go repair real quick. Oh, the shields basically don't regen either. Not on Insanity, they don't. They'll go up really slowly. I mean, if you do enough exploring around, your shields will come back eventually. Even if you dodge those stupid blue biotic balls or whatever they're shooting at you, they also fire a Gatling gun, a minigun at you also. You see, and that's the damage I'm taking right here, pretty much. Oh, just die, dude. No, I can't take that hit. Real close to dying here. Damn, this dude. I'm gonna have to repair again. Nice. Yeah, I was just probably a couple bullets away from having to do all this over. Damn. Are you serious? I can't even do anything with this? I want to shut down their comm links or whatever the hell this is. And my followers are just going to troll me. Okay, I'll tell you what. You get back in the car, and then we'll get right back out, and you just go somewhere else. And be annoying over there somewhere. Look at how slow the overheat goes up now. Isn't that beautiful? Frictionless materials are just awesome. Alright, and that wasn't even the main base. I did repair a couple times while I was out wandering around a little bit too. Got my shields back too. Went and gathered whatever resources are left. I've essentially gotten all the resources you need for the little mini missions. Basically, they want you to go gather one of each resource type. They want you to go gather the Matriarch's writings and the Prothean data discs and all that, and we've got them all. I got everything. So that's kind of cool. Lots of XP in that. Not only do you get paid for each one that you find, but then you get a little bonus once you've got them all, too. I'm trying to remember if there was an achievement for that. I think there was an achievement for completing a majority of the game, or a majority of the quests in the game, or whatever. And I think completing those with someone... Oh no, I was going to say completing those with someone in your party. So I remember there being achievements for doing majority of the game with certain party members also. And then for just completing so much of the game. And that's part of it, is gathering those resources. Those count. Any mission or assignment or whatever. Anyway, whatever. I just kind of talked to myself, but regardless, got them done. So if I didn't already have the trophies, I probably would have got a couple there. I think the hardest among those was to do the one with Liara. I believe was the hardest of the trophies, the companion trophies to get. Because she's essentially the last one that you pick up. And then you have to complete so many quests with her in your party. Seems like when I did it, I had to go so far as to make, as soon as I became a Spectre on the Citadel, I did none of the other side stuff, at least as little as I could, and then ran and got Liara and then came back and did them. Things like dealing with Conrad Werner and, the one where the AI was siphoning funds from the gambling machines and scanning the keepers and all that stuff, dealing with the Asari consort and the Turian general who was shouting their secrets in public. All that awesome stuff. Anyway, it seemed like I had to do a lot of that. I had to go get Liara and then bring her back and then basically keep her in your party all the time, which I do anyway. She is my absolute go-to. Her biotics, regardless of what class I'm playing, her biotics are, you can't replace them. Her ability to use lift and singularity is just amazing. All right. Notice I've got a set of Colossus for Garrus. I actually wound up buying that. In fact, last time we were at the Citadel, I found a Colossus 7 and a Colossus 8 back to back. Bought the 7, and the very next merchant I went to had an 8, and I was like, seriously? And they were both mediums, which he can wear, so I was like, well, oh well. Sold the 7 off for a loss of about 150,000 credits, if I remember right. Something like that. Of course, I guess when you got a couple million, you can just make it rain like that. You can just throw your money around. Well, if you're still here, appreciate you hanging out. This is cool. I really like punching the Geth in the mouth here. Like I said, whether they have a conscience and they know what they're doing or not, they are really being the assholes of the galaxy right now. Bad enough they align themselves with Saren, but like I say, they got a grudge against all living beings. Somehow the Reaper's logic, whatever reason, they harvest all life for whatever their motives are, and I believe I know what it is. And believe it or not, I don't think it's just that the Geth decided to follow the Reapers. I think the creation of the Geth in the first place and the creation of the Reapers, whoever and whenever the Reapers were created, right? Because you're talking about cycles going back 50,000 years apiece, and who knows how many cycles there have been. So you're talking about old machines going way back to whenever. Existence before existence, right? The creation of the Reapers initially and the creation of the Geth, I think, are almost identical in principle, right? And that what the Geth long after is a smaller I guess you could say, more juvenile, simpler version of what the Reapers are essentially after. How Shepard and how humanity plays into that is part of the, it's the magic of the Mass Effect story. To me, it's the magic of the message I got. Now, maybe I don't know all the lore, and maybe I'm not exactly on the money when it comes to what I see and the message I get from the Mass Effect story. I don't know. I don't really care, because the message I get is amazing. The story is freaking amazing. It's something I would have never thought of. It's one thing to hear a well-told story. It's another thing to appreciate that story for being so ingenious that it's humbling when you admit to yourself that, damn, I'd have never thought of that. That is, how did you come up with that shit from scratch? How did this enter your mind, and then how did you formulate this and then execute it? How did you bring this about in words and images and the way the story's told and the characters you develop and all the different pieces that had to work together to make this story come alive the way it came alive? That shit right there, when I look at the scope of it, I go, damn, that is awesome. Now that's awesome. So just a little insight into my brain, how I like to personally see these things, and this is where I get my money's worth out of the RPGs. This stuff right here, where the littlest thing here can have a huge impact overall in how the story comes across. I like how some stuff is hidden to where you have to find it, and the way in which you find it expounds on the story even more, if that makes sense. It's just, man, anyway, can't say enough about it. I would say this and Oblivion are the two games, because I played this before I even played Dragon Age Origins, and Dragon Age is in a lot of ways very similar to Mass Effect. I've heard of players who have played one and not the other, and that's the first thing out of my mouth is, well, you need to play the other one too, because one is the other without guns, or one is the other without swords and magic. They're really, it's not the same story, but it's the same kind of storytelling, the same depth of storytelling, to me. But I would say Mass Effect specifically and Oblivion are the two games that got me totally sold on this style of game. I'm spoiled to it. I really can't play a lot of other stuff, and it's so bad. I'm spoiled so bad that amazing, awesome games, and I say this is awesome not even having played it, considering the people who have played it, whose opinions I respect, and what they've said about it, lead me to believe that it has to be amazing on a lot of levels. People who are RPGs fans, like The Witcher, which I did play The Witcher 2, but like The Witcher 3, for example, there are certain things in the way that game is constructed that don't really fall in line with the open world, open-ended, I guess you could say, more random kind of storytelling like you find in these games. That's more definitely of a point A to point B style game. Although Witcher 3 maybe kind of steps out of that a little bit, to be fair. I do plan on playing it, by the way. Just in case anybody... I don't know about doing a Let's Play on it, considering the scope and the size of the game. Literally the size in terms of the times just to get from one point to another, and how a lot of the missions and stuff in The Witcher, this is how it appears to me. Like I say, I'm not real knowledgeable on it, although I do plan to play it. A lot of the stories and a lot of the missions and a lot of side quests appear to be stories in and of themselves. Like, you have the main story, and following that, I guess you could do a play on just that, right? But a lot of the side stuff having to do with a lot of the different monsters and a lot of the different citizens and people you would find in a lot of little side towns and stuff play off completely on their own and really don't have anything to do with the main story itself, except for maybe a vague reference to one of the characters or something like that. But other than that, they're kind of like their own little stories on their own little islands in that game. That's at least how I take it. So they kind of expanded on what they offered in Witcher 2. Witcher 2 felt almost more like an adventure game, where you had some say-so in how you built your character, but you weren't going to make your own character. You're going to play Geralt. Geralt is your character. Geralt is his own character. You just get to experience the story through his eyes, and that's about it. Which is cool, but that's not my style.
This is odd. I would have expected one of these outposts to be a main base of operations for the Geth incursion into this region.
Hold on. This receiver's picking up some kind of transmission. Based on the signal strength, I'd say it's coming from inside the star cluster.
It must be a message from the primary Geth base. We can use the signal to lock onto its location and eliminate them. It must be a message from the primary Geth base. We can use the signal to lock onto its location and eliminate them.
Just in case I didn't hear you the first time, they were? What that was? Man, cool skyline on this planet. Right? Well, we got some stuff. Anyway, not knocking it. Like, I think playing Geralt specifically is fundamental to the way that story is told. But if I were to say, how would I make it to fit my style, what I like to play most, like how can I make that ideal for me, is just to make it a random Witcher. Not Geralt specifically, but a random Witcher. Which then your personal love interest in one of the other main protagonists in the story wouldn't play in. So I understand having Geralt is fundamental to that story. And I can respect that. I get it. But each to their own. You know, everyone has their own thing that really just grabs them and just doesn't let go. The style of game that I like and what I was spoiled to was, even though Shepherd is, you're playing Shepherd, you can play your own kind of Shepherd, if that makes any sense, in Mass Effect. And, you know, maybe it is really just arguing apples and oranges, but anyway, something about the Mass Effect story and the my Shepherd being personal to me. Maybe it's in the decisions I make as I go along and how that really does mold my character. That there is some randomness there based on personal player choice. Maybe that's something to do with it. But like I say, maybe that applies to some extent to The Witcher too. I don't think it's fair to compare. I'm just saying why I would lean towards this and not that as much. And that was my experience based on The Witcher 2 also. Like I say, I haven't played The Witcher 3 yet, and it will be that I can already say this. I will predict this for myself. Already level 44, sweet. Is that when I do play The Witcher 3, when I do finally play it, I will be screaming out loud to myself while I'm in the room by myself playing, why the hell haven't I played this before now? I already know that. I already know that. To be fair, also there really hasn't been time. I've been involved in this stuff. Fallout 4 came about. It was a thing. I was already in the middle of one thing before that came. Then that was a thing, and now Mass Effect is the thing. And this is looking forward to Andromeda, which will probably come out before I get my hands on The Witcher 3, and then that will be a thing. And then finally I'll play Witcher 3, and then I'll be screaming aloud, hey everybody, this is the most awesome game ever, blah, blah, blah. And y'all will be saying, yeah, we knew that like 2 years ago, dude. Shut up. I already know it. That's fine. As long as I do get around to it, and I'm sure I'll love it when I do. But for right now, I am all back into this. I didn't realize just how much of a kick I would get out of playing this and finally doing a Let's Play on it too. I'm actually getting something out of doing a Let's Play here. I'm not lying. This playthrough here, I've seen some cool stuff. Connected a few dots that previously weren't connected in my head. As far as canon or lore or whatever goes, it's been rewarding. It's really cool, actually. Hopefully, playing these in order and getting a continuous flow of story and lore together, and being able to kind of establish my own thoughts and my own ideas on just what the message is here, will become clearer and clearer, and we'll get a really good solid look at the ending of the game, especially looking all the way forward to Mass Effect 3 towards the ends of that, which a lot of people complained about the ending of Mass Effect 3, and I saw no problem. And what's even worse is I saw why people had a problem with it, and it's really hard to respect that, because it's like when you've paid attention and you've put the pieces together, and then you put them in light of the way the story finished, which I'm not even going to start to get into that here. Obviously, no spoilers. We're not going to get out of the groove, but just keeping that in light with all the things that we're gathering here, like you can see just what we've got just here in this introductory game. And you say, well, if all this part of the Mass Effect story is told here in Mass Effect 1, then what's left in 2 and 3? A lot. Believe me, a lot. This is really just laying the groundwork, right? But when you take this and then you add Mass Effect 2 to it, which is the ultimate middle chapters of a book. That's what Mass Effect 2 is. It's a bridge. It's not complete. It's not a complete beginning or an ending. It wasn't supposed to be. And they really made no apologies for that. In fact, they said it ahead of time. This is the intermediate chapters in the game, right? This is the middle of the story here. You're not going to get the conclusion. And if you want the beginning, you may have to go back and play the first again. Although you don't have to, right? But I strongly recommend playing these in order. Specifically for that reason is the whole story is told in 3 parts. Well, I've heard people ask, do I need to go back and play Mass Effect 1? Well, if you want the introduction to the story of any good book, yeah. You can have someone tell you about the introduction secondhand, but it's not the same as reading it for yourself. Well, I don't feel like reading it. Well, then you won't get it. If you don't work, you don't get paid. You know? Pure and simple. Well, I don't like that. That's not comfortable, and modern politics insists that I don't have to accept that truth and reality into my life. Yeah, really? Okay, well, great. Still, you don't get work. You don't work, you don't get paid. The way it is. It's when you combine Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3 with the groundwork that's laid here, and you put the whole picture together and you pay attention as you go along, when you get to the ending of 3, it's like, oh wow, holy crap. And it sums up a fundamental message, which I think they were trying to pass along all along. There's a moral to it. And there is a, oh man, it's an entire ideology. It's amazing. Anyway, we'll see that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Okay. I'll tell you what, as much as that Colossus would like for me to just go down there and just... You know what? Just might go down there and go toe-to-toe with this dude. Sparring with him like this is probably going to take forever. Yeah, and he's getting some lucky shots on me. Anyway, tell you what. It's just him anyway, right? Once you get the snipers and rocket troopers out, it's not so bad. With them firing at you at the same time, especially the snipers, they got that assassinate ability. They'll go right through your shields and everything. Seems like they go right through the hole, too. It's just, next thing you know, your Mako's in trouble, and you're like, damn. What happened? It's freaking snipers. There we go. Alright, what are we facing here? This doesn't look like a normal bunker. This looks more like one of those storehouse, warehouse type of things, or whatever. Okay, I think that's a prime. Maybe not. Maybe that's a destroyer. So they're just going to pepper the entrance with explosives, huh? Missiles and stuff? That's a destroyer. Okay, I was thinking it was a prime. 2 destroyers. So I don't think they're shooting missiles. I think they're shooting Carnage, which is the same thing that, like, Tally has with her shotgun. I think Rex has Carnage too, doesn't he? I think Rex does. Actually, I think Ashley does also. Think of it. Well, as long as they just don't charge us at the door here, I'm perfectly content with sitting back here and sniping these guys. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Nice. Another destroyer? Damn. Alright. Okay, I think those are missiles. And I think that is a prime. Yeah, we'd have run up in there and we'd have just been bombed to death. Okay, well, sitting back here, I can't even tell if I'm hitting this dude or not. Oh, it's a juggernaut. Oh, cool. Which I think is basically the same thing as a prime. I believe. More or less. Big Geth, that's all I know. You hear music from across the room. On the monitor, a Quarian stands before a hushed crowd warbling a mournful a cappella of Worlds and Innocence Lost. The recorded song is dispatched to the Geth worlds behind the Perseus Veil. Transmitter shuts down. Interesting. They have recordings of the Quarians. I mean, the Geth could not help but look at the Quarians as their creators to some extent, right? And so is there some... You discover a number of encrypted Geth data files. In the proper hands, they could reveal much. Well, proper hands would probably be Tally's hands. Something she'd be interested in. So essentially, having Tally along and getting to be buds with her
I'll follow.
kind of opens this up. I think you get this from Admiral Hackett anyway, but being able to pass that along to her for her to take back home on her pilgrimage, that's pretty cool. When we get back to the Normandy, we'll go talk to her real quick. I think we actually have to give her permission to take it or something. I'd be curious to see how the Geth view the Corvians. When we showed up on Pharos, we found those Geth kind of worshiping that whatever it was. They'd set up something of a shrine for themselves. I don't know if it was a piece of like Reaper tech or something that they were sitting there bowed down to, if it was some glowing orb of their own making, or I don't know. So the idea of a religious concept is there for them, sort of.
Shepard, I need to talk to you. It's important.
Is something wrong?
You know the data you took from those Geth control nodes? The information you uploaded to Alliance Control? I want a copy of it.
You want to bring this data back to the migrant fleet?
Those files have information that could be vital to our efforts to understand the Geth. It could be the key to helping us reclaim our homeworld.
If I give you this data, your pilgrimage is over. You'll go back to your own people.
Not right away. I'll stay with you as long as it takes to stop Saren. But my people need this.
It'll take years to decipher and analyze the data.
Maybe even decades, but it's worth the time. This information will give us new insight into how the Geth have changed and evolved over the past centuries.
Go ahead, make a copy.
My people, I owe you a great debt. One I can never repay. The only thing I can offer in return is what you already have. My solemn promise to stay with you until Saren and his Geth armies are defeated.
I never wanted anything more.
Thank you, Shepard.
Funny, if the Quarians haven't taken responsibility for their mistake, the principles that they violated in creating the Geth and skirting the law when they did so, then how are they going to make use of any information about the Geth now? I don't know. Anyway, well, we dealt with that. We got Tally something to take back on her pilgrimage. If you want to subscribe, click that button up top. And if you want to catch the rest of this Let's Play at this point, and click that image in the middle. It should send you straight to the playlist. Y'all take care. Bye.